from sunny Vilnius. We are happy to enjoy Indian summer here, and I hope my colleagues in Brussels, Riga, and Tallinn enjoy colorful autumn as well. Congratulations to all of us who still believe in beauty of travel and necessity to keep our tour operator and travel agents business alive. This session is a part of 7th Lithuanian Tourism Forum, which will start tomorrow. Please register for tomorrow's event as well and stay with us these 90 minutes for today's travel agents and tour operator session. First of all, thanks to the Ministry of the Economy and Innovation for making it happen, this 7th International Lithuanian Forum. And true, we all missed real physical events, and let's hope that this 7th Lithuanian Forum will be the first and the last one which we are participating virtually. My pleasure to introduce three very well-known speakers and tourism professionals. So let me start from the best partner to the travel industry in Lithuania, Vice Minister of the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, Mr. Vincas Jurgutis. Mr. Jurgutis, I would like to thank you from the Lithuanian travel industry for being with us and standing for us during the pandemic. We know that there is a long way to recovery. But when you are with us, we are very smart and happy. Thank you so much. Mr. Vincas?
Hi, thank you, Žydrė. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you here in my Zoom and in my office. So this is like not a physical event, but also it's a good opportunity to meet you and to talk together. And first of all, many thanks to our team who helped to organize this event, and many thanks to Žydrė and her team and the association for her input, because it was without her we wouldn't have this event. So many thanks. So today we are here to listen to you and to get the insights from you, how the travel business coped with this very difficult situation, and that difficult situation is still not over. We are still facing big issues here in the travel sector. So we want to hear from you, how did you manage to keep going? Also to hear ideas what the government should do and how to intervene in any places where we should intervene. And also maybe that part is the most interesting for me, is to hear your predictions for the future. How will transform the travel industry in the world, or if it's transformed, which parts gonna stay the same, which parts will never be the same. And many experts all over the world, they share the predictions, but still we are in this very difficult transformation phase, and we understand that many of those synopses, they will not be correct, and that's normal in such kind of situation, that not everyone who predicts the future is right. But I still think that we have to be brave and look for those answers, and not to be afraid if sometimes the situation gonna change and some prediction is gonna change. Also, one thing that is very important to Lithuania, and I believe to all the Baltic countries and all the northern countries, is how we should get on track inviting tourists to our countries after the after the situation with COVID-19 will be coped. As probably some places, the most popular touristic destination, they have an advantage for some traditional tourism. So for us, probably we will need a little more time. So if we are wise, maybe we can find a solution how we can get back on our feet quickly, as we all understand that even the significant growth of the, how to say, internal, our local domestic tourism, this cannot change the incoming people from abroad. And for the last thing I would like to mention that we have some success stories, and being brave, we are capable to achieve success. And as we remember 2020 and the Baltic travel bubble, this was something that was very simple and very brilliant. And I say that for everyone who were with who were part of creating that bubble, many thanks and many kind words, as I was only a tourist at that time, so I cannot say anything from my side. And we understand that in 2021 there were some also chats about recreating the travel bubble, but also everyone understood that the situation was completely different to compare to 2020. But what could I say? That in some case, the Baltic travel bubble of 2020, it grew and developed to the things that we had in the Europe, all over the Europe in 2021. That Baltic travel bubble came the bubble of Europe in the next year, and this is why we didn't need the Baltic travel bubble. So if we think bigger, maybe we can understand why this summer we didn't need it at all, or maybe didn't need it in that way we need it in 2020, as the change for the attitude was very big, and probably no one of us could imagine while in 2020, in June of 2020, that the next June gonna be so different, despite the impact of COVID-19 was bigger even in this year. So I think that is a success story for the Baltic countries, and we should think how to sell it. And Estonians, they are experts at PR. So I think that we should think how we should take the credit of European COVID certificate, that it was inspired not by some experts, but by Baltic travel bubble. Of course, it's a joke, but I think that from those jokes, sometimes we can get something out of it. So this is my part. Today I'm gonna listen and take notes and make notes. So now, Žydrė, thank you, and everything is in your hands.
Oh, thank you, Vincas. I would love to have all the tourism in my hands as well. Thank you, Vincas, and my pleasure is to introduce this second panelist. The most professional support and the most significant industry knowledge is concentrated in the ECTAA, the umbrella organization which unites the national associations of 27 EU member countries and international members. The leader of the association, Secretary General of ECTAA, Ēriks Dresin. Bonjour, Ēriks.
Bonjour, Žydrė. Hello to everyone. Nice to have some introduction in French. I will speak on behalf of Pavel Niewiadomski, the president of ECTAA, who unfortunately had to go to a meeting in Poland. So please accept his apologies for his absence, but he would have liked to be present. But like anyone, he has a lot of homework. I shared my screen because I prepared a presentation, and I tried to make the best use of the time. And I hope that the participants will be able to look at the presentation. So very briefly, so I don't want to waste some time here, but just to give the minister and the audience a better understanding who we are. So ECTAA is a European association covering the whole European Union, not only Union, but Europe in terms of geography. We have 70,000 companies being indirect members, 500,000 employees if you look at workforce. We talk, of course, to the European Union on behalf of our members, but also to international institutions. So IATA for air travel, UNWTO for travel, tourism, and many others, ISO, for instance. ECTAA is celebrating this year its 60th anniversary. So you see, it's not a new organization. It's quite an old one, but it means that it adapted to the changes in the time. And this is the case today. Come back to the reality. What is the situation today? I think if we want to talk about the future, sustainable and resilient and digital tourism, we need to take stock of the situation today. And I put, some figures, and I'll try to be brief there. We are in a bad situation. All of us know, but I think it's important that the ministers and the government are aware of that. We have today suffering a loss. So if we take the IATA figures, you see that we are still about even less than a quarter of the real normal travel activities for airlines in 2021, minus 20%, minus 80% from January to August 2021. So the situation did not improve this year. Even if we have the feeling that we have a bad year 2020 because of the unexpected outbreak. 2021 is even more challenging for our industry because it's a persistent crisis. In terms of sales for our airlines, it's minus 80%. It's exactly what we expected also, unfortunately, for the travel agent and tour operator industry. So we normally have 175 billion euros turnover in Europe for this industry, and we expected this year to be at about 40 to 50 billion euros. Those are expectations, of course, and we hope the winter season will improve a little bit. Now, very important also, it's not only to look at the travel in terms of passengers, but also the international arrivals, because you have the numbers and you have the money, and those international travelers are very important for industry because they used to spend more than the European travelers. And you see from the latest UNWTO figures that we will have in this summer, we have had in this summer only 25% of the usual number of tourists. And a month of August has been the same. So we will stay a little bit to the same situation. So as you can see, this industry is devastated by the crisis, and it's a permanent. I put two tables because they are explaining very well. So it's from the airports industry. So those figures show that for Europe, we are at a minus 38% for the current situation. But it's exactly the same for the Baltic and Nordic countries. So it's a minus 50%. So clearly, it's not only ECTAA and the travel agent and tour operators stating that there is a crisis. We all have the same figures there, full stop. So we need to work together to find a solution. So that's the situation. It's a catastrophe. And of course, we have had the possibility to travel, and Mr. Jurgutis explained that we have the bubbles, and we have seen indeed that domestic travel happened, and it's good. So we're happy with that. But for travel agent, it has been very, very limited because you don't use a travel agent or a tour operator if you want to travel from Estonia to Lithuania, but it's rather when you want to travel from Estonia or Lithuania to Italy, for instance. So the crisis for us is real. Some expectations, short term, before entering on the long term. So you see that there is a demand for travel. ETC, the European Travel Commission, makes regularly a survey, and you see that 70% of the people want to travel, but planning to travel and really traveling is something different. Second, those will be short-term travel plans and domestic travel plans. So we are not talking for our industry about a real business opportunity. So it's gonna be challenging. And on top of that, there is still uncertainties in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on the destination. So how can we plan our holidays? What will happen to us? What is the quarantine rules? What can I expect in a few months' time? This is really challenging for our business and for the travelers, because they want to know if they're able to come back safely and on time at home and at work. So the short-term expectations means for us that we have a difficult winter season. So after a very poor summer season, it will be challenging again. We need to keep in mind that we work with bookings. So it means that we get today the trends for tomorrow. So people book today for traveling in November or December, for instance, or even later. So we have late bookings, not almost known, but very low level. So it's gonna predict us a very challenging winter season. Business travel is slow to restart, and all this because in particular, we have a lack of visibility on travel restrictions and expectations when we are coming back from holidays. This means that today we will have a phasing out of support in most of European countries, while we have no real business activities. So this is important for us to be able to get this support as long as possible in order to overcome this period. Otherwise, all the efforts made so far would have been useless. And we always talk about inbound and outbound, but I think we shouldn't split them and look at those two parameters very closely, because they are related and they are very important. So European, Northern Baltic countries are very much important for outbound, but I think if the outbound is doing well, then it helps inbound also to be efficient. Medium-term expectations. I think I didn't dare talking about long-term expectation, because if you talk to our businesses today, they are just looking at survival. So I prefer to look at the medium term, and here you see more and more the issue of sustainability. So sustainability will become a driver for the growth of our businesses. It's for sure, because we have a generational change. We have also an impact in Northern Europe about flight shame, for instance. And there has been a lot of discussion about the impact of tourism on the economy. I think it's important to keep sustainability in an eye with three aspects. It's not only environmental sustainability, but also social and economical sustainability. And we need to work on these three pillars. Our industry has been for a long time very much confronted to digital sales, so online shopping. It's one of the most, let's say, online business that you can find if you compare, for instance, with the other retail sector. Yet, online shopping even further expanded with COVID. And in the US, for instance, the statistic shows that travel has been the most affected sector in terms of increase of online traffic. This was a trend. It will remain a trend for us, and we need to invest and take a lot of initiative in this aspect. New market trends, difficult to predict, of course. Nomadic workers have, I know that some countries already invested in that, but I think we need to consider that carefully, because it's very difficult to predict. And for sure, people will travel domestically further. rediscovering their own country for a while. And we need to, as an industry, to look at this trend also, even if it's not delivering a lot of financial profitability. Yet, package travel will remain for many reasons, because there is a demand for that. There are consumers interested in traveling with a package because it's safe, it's easy, it's cheap, it's affordable. Also because you have investment in the destination and you cannot completely erase those investments on the short term. So you need to fill those hotels that have been built, those cruise ships that have been put on the sea, and we will have this business going on for the future. And also, tour operators and travel agents will remain key for international travel, because COVID showed that you have to have a support of a travel agent and a tour operator when you have a problem, and COVID is here to stay for a little bit. So we absolutely need to work with somebody. You have to book with somebody in order to get the proper feedback or support when needed. What we need in terms of industry, and that will be my two final presentations slides, Žydrė. We need to switch from a country risk to a travel risk analysis. It's important that all those travel bans that have been set up, adopted up to now, need to be adapted to the new reality. Vaccination is there, health passport is there. We need to invest on that and help people who decided to make the effort to protect themselves and protect the others to be able to travel if they want. So it's a major shift, and I think it's essential that the governments are aware of that. We need also, as I said, to keep maintaining or to keep short-term support scheme. All this period is very cost-intensive, because you bring back employees at work, and some of the colleagues will explain the challenges there. But the revenue is very weak because the business, the costs or the fixed costs are there, but you don't have the revenues we used to have in the past. So we need to have a support, a temporary support for us. We need also to create this global interoperability of health passports and reopening borders to at least vaccinated travelers. It's a dialogue we have today with the US association, but I think we need to create those bubbles. We have to, in the Baltic countries, then in Europe, why not to have this bubble with the US, for instance, or Canada? We need those travelers if we want to have a successful business. And what we need to do also is to sustain investment or to support investment for a more digital industry. It will be a long-term investment. It will be huge. It's not very clear how we can do that, but for sure, we have to have the support of the countries if we want to provide the customers with the right experience, the expected experience as regards sustainability. As a European association, and that will be my last slide, as a European association, I would like to insist on the fact that we will have, or we are fighting today for the extension of the Euro temporary framework for state aid, so that the EU is accepting those aids for companies and for the sector when they are submitted by the governments. So we need the government to fight on that too, so that we can get this adequate legislative framework. Then we need to have to work all together on some revisions of the EU legislation, because we have seen shortcomings, many shortcomings in the EU legislation, which is completely acceptable considering the unexpected impact of such pandemic. First, we need to work on the package travel directive to ensure, I'm sorry, there's a word missing, to ensure customers are properly keep trusting travel agents and keep getting the right expectation, satisfaction when they book a package travel. Unforeseen, unexpected circumstances, prepayments, refunds, vouchers. Many issues have been raised, and we need to work on that all together. There's also a question of the air passenger rights. We need to get a proper refund. B2B refund has been very poor. B2C has been also very poor and still under discussion. If you see at the latest CPC network press release or survey of this week, we absolutely have to ensure that airlines and other suppliers, but clearly airlines, refund the customers and the travel agent to operators. And we need also to ensure that airlines are protected against insolvency. There's the first airlines start to go burst. It's not in Europe yet, but it will happen very soon. Before the crisis, one airline per month in an average over 10 years, one airline per month was going bankrupt. Finally, if you want to have sustainability, if you want to have a digital world properly functioning, we, association and government, have to work to offer the customer with the right experience and the information he needs to get. So we need to have indirect sales properly functioning, the code of conduct on computerized reservation systems where we can, as intermediaries, get fair and neutral and complete comprehensive information about suppliers and airlines in particular has to be enforced properly. But also we need to extend that to other transport modes. Train is getting momentum, but I don't expect any traveler to be able to book himself a flight and a train and a hotel with the right information without spending 2 weeks getting the feedback and getting the fair price. So we need to work there all together so that we can also push for more digital and more sustainable tourism in the future. This goes all together. I will stop my presentation here. And I'm happy to listen to any comments and questions during the presentations.
Thank you, Ēriks. And I would like to encourage everyone to leave the questions at the Zoom chat, either to raise a hand after short presentations of two next panel discussion panelists. There will be the time for the question. And as well, get ready. In 10 minutes, we'll have family photo and please get ready to switch on the cameras. We would love to have common photo, all of us together. But let's move. And my great pleasure as well to introduce Ēriks Lingebērziņš, our colleague from Latvia, Managing Director of Baltic Vision, Professor at Turība University, and the member of the board of ALTA, the Association of Latvian Travel Agents and Tour Operators. Labrīt, Ērik. Ēriks.
Labas rītas, Žydrė. Good morning, everyone from always amazing and magnetic Riga and Latvia. And taking this opportunity, would like to thank you, Žydrė, and our Lithuanian tourism friends for actually bringing this tourism session on a Baltic level. We appreciate that on all behalf of our Association of Travel Agents and Operators, ALTA. I would like to start actually addressing some of the topics and aspects that have been raised this morning already by Ērik and Mr. Jurgutis. We have seen and we are sure that among the tourism industry, various sectors, especially travel agents and operators, there is no doubt about pan-Baltic region as a destination for international tourism. And during past year and a half, we have actually got sufficient evidence and proof that this concept in tourism industry is still alive. And when Mr. Jurgutis asked what will not change, as far as we sitting probably in the middle of the Baltics, we see that this will not change. We still will remain a part of a Baltic destination with all three Baltic countries. But this also leads us to some issues and some questions we have been on our tables for past months or even more, year and a half actually. We feel that political decisions that are made in Riga, Vilnius or Tallinn, they do have impact on tourism business environment in all three Baltic countries. And what we can say is that unfortunately our recent experience has been often negative. We have been hard hit not only by pandemic itself, which is of course has been bringing devastating effect on tourism industry here, but also we have been suffering from the lack of coordination of some practical issues among governments. This has created confusion between industry players, and it has created also confusion to travelers or clients who come here and would love to come. It was mentioned also today that back in 2020, we were able to be the first to open borders and created Baltic travel bubble. I believe many of us here and also those who are with us in their thoughts today about the tourism, they still remember the sentiment about this brief but very successful period of time and initiative. And we feel that this once again demonstrated how closely we are related, at least in tourism industry, and how big positive impact such travel bubble, at least on a Baltic level, can bring to us. So at this point where we stand right now in October 2021, which was illustrated, turns out to be even more complicated and challenging year than 2020, we are urging once again our governments on a common approach and a dialogue about joint approach to stimulate recovery of tourism industry in all the Baltic countries. Incoming tourism for us as a part of service exports in all our places is still accounting of only a small and slim slice of business that we used to be. We still can see that hotels in Kaunas, Jūrmala, or Tartu, or any other capital cities struggle with occupancy rates. And just a couple of those weeks during the summer months definitely is not looking great for the industry at the moment, especially knowing that we have winter ahead of us. At this point, we as an industry here in Latvia, we are inviting on a political level to look steps ahead of us what we can do next. We have to find an approach how to open our destination to guests from third countries. And we need to do it in a coordinated way. We still are urging to find a way how we can harmonize regulation and understand, for example, what we consider to be a children definition. We see that we still have different interpretation of what is children and who are children. We have to get on to expand the range of the markets we are able to welcome. We see that domestic travel or even regional travel is not sufficient, especially when it comes to tour operator business. And there are also plenty of small and very practical things that could be done. Single passenger registration form in all the Baltic countries. This is reality we could achieve very easily. At the same time, we have been receiving questions and doubts from our guests. How comes that you three are not able to get it in a one clearly understandable and easy use system? We are often speaking in tourism industry about the importance of digitalization. And probably this is one of those examples where we could be more digitally brave and show this positive experience, how we can use modern technologies in order to facilitate travel, at least on that level where we are standing now. So as long as we see this current situation that pan-Baltic destination concept is working, we invite governments to listen to the business. Business is the one that sees incoming business in the Baltic countries working as one region. And tourism business in the end are the ones that are promoting destinations, selling variety of services, and in the end also paying taxes, even in these times. We have to realize that we are living in a highly globalized world. And this means that companies which are being registered in Lithuania or Estonia, they provide their incoming travel services also in Latvia and vice versa. And once we are facing these political decisions which lack coordination, but regulate and often limit tourism industry, especially in these times, and this has direct impact on anybody, be it S-Travel from Estonia, be it Delta from Lithuania, or be it Baltic Travel Group from Latvia. And it is the same with all other market players. We in tourism business, we are sitting in a one tourism boat in a wild ocean of uncertainty. And what we need at the moment most, I would say, is to clear this uncertainty as long as it is possible in a safe, organized, and manageable way. We are most heavily hit industry, and we still have a long path to go before we can get back to where we are. And especially a concerning situation has recently been with us, and if politically the weakest part of this pan-Baltic tourism chain is in the middle of the Baltics, then this is obviously something that has impact on all of us. So we here in Latvia, and I believe it's similar with you friends in Lithuania and Estonia, we do expect responsible and really wise decisions regarding joint actions and common approach in order to get our tourism industry back to a place where it can stand and bring benefits to the economies of each of our country. Thank you very much once again for organizing this and opportunity to raise these questions, which we have actual here in Latvia, but I believe they are similar for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ēriks. Actually, very important topics. And my great pleasure to introduce my former colleague, Merike Hallik. Merike has not only long and broad experience in travel business, but she also served as the president of Estonian Travel and Tourism Association 2018-2020. She served as a ECTAA president in 2016-2018. Tere hommikust, Merike.
Tere hommikust, Žydrė. Good morning. Thank you very much for a nice introduction. And I have to just to say the same things as my colleagues, that thank you, Žydrė, for organizing this event. And it has not been the first time, by the way, when our associations have come together. I should say that the line of associations has been quite good. Maybe one day the line of the states will be as good as the associations. So let's hope for that. And when listening the speakers, then I more than like to agree with Ēriks with three different points. What I can see also in Estonia that sometimes are not managed the same way. The first one is that both outgoing and incoming are important. There is no way these both ways of traveling are a travel business for us, and we have just to talk about them in an equal way. The second thing is that the importance of travel professionals. We have just to think of today's situation. Are we happy with our employees? Do we have enough of them? Are they just lost for the travel business due to this 1.5 year of pandemic? And so on. So we have a lot to think about how to keep our employees, because being an employee in a travel business means years of studying, training, knowing all kinds of rules, being able just to use different programs to serve your clients. So, and the third thing, what Ēriks said, was the confrontation to digital platforms. I should say that this is maybe not even is not a confrontation, because a lot of travel agencies in all Baltic countries are owning their own digital platforms already for years. They are, of course, not so big like Amazon or Mondo or so on, but they are already dealing with this, and digitalization is the future. We can't deny it. when thinking about Mr. Vice Minister's speech, then I loved very much the Baltic bubble thing. And, you know, this is really something that we were happy to be in. And I think that there are only 2 countries in the world and only one another bubble. And it was Australia and New Zealand who also had a bubble. So the others didn't want to do it or didn't want to try it. But this bubble, at least last year, it worked. So my today's talk is maybe more about the business travel side. And what I would like to say is that in general, the traveling habits for work started to change already several years ago. It is not due to the pandemic what happened in the business travel, but then years ago, it was a positive change. Now, during the last 1.5 years, it has been totally devastating negative change. And we can say that the business travel nearly stopped during the pandemic. There has been an earlier prediction that the business travel spend would top to $1.7 trillion by 2022. The Global Business Travel Association is now predicting that the business travel will suffer revenue loss of $820 billion. So this is a huge loss. Why business travel is so important to the Baltic countries? I'm not talking only for Estonia. I just want to mention all the countries all the time during the speech. It's important because the research has shown that business travelers spend practically 4 times more money than other travelers. And definitely this is good for our economic situation, the general just the significant economic contribution to the local and global economy as well. Business travel also supports the hospitality industry through the hotel bookings and restaurant visits. It also supports leisure tourism. We all know the nice word pleasure, which comes from the words leisure and pleasure and business and pleasure, and helps make business travelers just to not only to go to the meeting or conference or whatever event in another country, but also to get some information of this country's background or history or culture, or at least enjoy it. So maybe one thing that the inviters should also do is that when we are inviting our colleagues, partners, clients from other countries to a short business trip, then maybe we should do it, show some initiative and do it this way, that the meeting is going to happen on Monday or Friday, and either before the meeting or after the meeting, your client or guest will have a nice weekend in this destination. And this is also already a very nice pleasure. Today, the initiative comes from the travelers, but the initiative could come also from the inviters. Some more words before we go to maybe more like argumentation or questions about the business travel in let's say in the agency level. There are about 90 ALTA travel companies in Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Being an ALTA accredited agent means a lot of responsibilities, including meeting the financial criteria by ALTA. And ALTA agencies mainly, they serve business travelers, global, local companies, governmental agencies. Next to ALTAs, the incoming business travelers are served by local DMCs and event management companies. It means a lot of local skilled workforce is involved. These people who all have been trained and work for the travel business for a long time. Will business travel make a comeback? There are hundreds of different opinions. There are auditing companies who say that it will never come back to the just level of 2019. There are also big travel companies who say that it will be coming back by 2025. So different opinions, usually big corporations or companies, and having their own reasons for these opinions. But definitely we have to hope that the business travel is coming back, and we have just to understand what the trends will be. And there has been a lot of research papers and articles about the possible trends in the future. But the main ones maybe are very much connected with COVID-19. And this is just safety and security protocols in place. Then possibility to make bookings with no cancellation fines. Then new kinds of business trips, which means that the world post-pandemic will be different. And we have to understand that people are working quite a lot remote, and many employees have or will become digital nomads, living in far away of the headquarters, for example. Their travel will be totally different, but this is also business travel. They are working in another end of the world, but when they have to come to the headquarters, they take a business trip. So this will be already a new one. And of course, technology is something which is changing our business travel very much in the future after the pandemic ends, or we should say that maybe it is never going to end. It is just we have to adjust with it and see what is happening, what possibilities we will have when the adjustment has been made. Žydrė, I think that I stop here. And after with the questions, I can already add some information.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Merike. And me, finally, Žydrė Gavelienė. I'm the president of National Tourism Business Association of Lithuania, and as well the manager of Festival American Express in Lithuania. Today, as you noticed, I'm the moderator of the event. So my colleagues actually described nearly everything, and I would like to a little bit to emphasize on Lithuania. Analyzing the Baltic states through the lens of tourism data, we get very interesting insights. What differs Lithuania from other two countries and what unites our region? We are proud of, here in Lithuania, that the biggest number of the most experienced and biggest charter tour operators in the Baltic states are registered in Lithuania. The largest number of ALTA travel agencies are registered in Lithuania as well. I would like to believe that the biggest number of incoming tour operators who are servicing all the Baltic countries are registered as well in Lithuania. So it means that the biggest number of the jobs are registered in Lithuania, I mean travel. But at the same time, the smallest contribution to the country's GDP among the Baltic states. And plain data doesn't mean anything. Or it means how strongly our countries are dependent on each other. It is clear that only the biggest tour operators can offer competitive price packages to travelers, and only the biggest tour operators covering whole region are important to outgoing destinations. Same with incoming travel business, because our countries are neither big, neither very well known. We have to borrow tourist attractions from each other to make our incoming package programs attractive and long enough to compete. But let's come back to our territory. Lithuania's, Latvia's, and Estonia's territory is less than 4% of EU territory. And the Baltic states' population is nearly 1.3 population of Europe. We're a very, very tiny region with one regular flight airline based in the Baltics. But we have different COVID restrictions, which makes our business travel live and bearable today. There is no sustainable future for tourism in our region if we cannot agree on the most critical topics for the tourism sector. The first one, saving the jobs in travel business. And the second one, harmonizing regional COVID regulations. Those are the most important topics today, and this we have to work hard to get the tourism back on track. Thanks a lot. That was from Lithuania. As I mentioned before, this event is organized by the Ministry of Economy and Innovation. And thanks to Lydia, who is behind the scene, who made this event happen. And just to have the good memory of this event, please switch on the cameras and we will have the family photo and then we will move to the panel discussion. If it's possible, everyone, please switch on the cameras. I see still some cameras off, please. Hi, Gabriele. So let's have the photo and let's move to the discussion. Okay? Thank you so much. May we? Cheese. Once more, cheese to everyone. Thank you. So before the moving to the panel discussion, I have here some questions. And I would like to ask everyone in the panel discussion to share their ideas. What are the forecasts when the business and tourism numbers will be back? What do you think, Ēriks, from ECTAA?
There is one lesson we've learned with COVID is that prediction is a very bad business, for sure. It's not only tourism, which is in crisis. 2021 is over. 22 will hopefully have a slight improvement. We need to put everything back on track. It takes time because airlines cannot restart. We need to recruit workforce again because a third of the employees left the industry. We need to skill and train them and we need to have them skilled and train them. So 23rd will be very optimistic. So most of the industry talk about being back to some good numbers in 2024. With the idea that we will not reach the 2019 figures, which were very good. That was the end of increasing period. But let's hope that we'll have interesting numbers in 2023. What is important, and I will finish that, there is a demand for traveling. So it's not that we lack the demand, we need to have the adequate offer matching this demand.
Thank you, Ēriks. Ēriks, what would be your forecast?
Thank you for this amazing question. It's actually the best to receive quite oftenly. I would like to say that I share little optimism, and I would love to say that I see some signs that the worst point in tourism industry globally, we have seen it already. In the meantime, I still see that 2022 is not so easy as we would love it to be. What happens next? It depends on a combination of multiple factors. It's how the relationship between NGOs, businesses, and governments will work. And I believe there are good options that we can work out. And we also see now that the recovery will differ from destination to destination. And I very much would love to have the Baltics be on that part of destinations where we see this recovery happening sooner.
Thank you, Ēriks. And Merike?
Very much agree with everything and would like to add some points that we also, first of all, I am also optimistic. I think that we are quite in a good situation already in 2023 end or beginning of 24. But we have just to think about some things which have happened during this time, what we have learned actually from this COVID or are learning still, that technology is coming to replace everything. And this is also about face-to-face for many kinds of meetings. So to replace technology, is it quicker than us? Is it just going to be very normal way to use technology before the tourists will restart? I don't know. But we are very much in this way than using Zoom or Teams or Slack or whatever kind of platforms, and it is coming more and more normal. Although we are talking about it's nice to meet people, and it is nice to meet people. It is just vital to meet people personally. But we have to think that together with traveling, there is also another thing. It is that a lot of companies, especially big corporations, have found out that traveling is very expensive. And they say that this is absolutely wasteful to spend money on traveling. Can we talk them over? Can we make them clear? This is in the hands of the hotel industries and carriers and everyone who is making the prices for traveling. And can we talk them over? Because this is one of the things which the global searches or global researches have found out, that travel is expensive. So there is no caring about the price. The companies are very easily just upgraded their employees to business class and so on. So this is one of the issues. Another one, the next one, third one, it is the environment. So this is how to reduce the carbon footprint. So this is definitely also going to be on the table. When we are restarting the tourism and trying to catch the numbers from 2019. So these are the things that are quite interesting, just actually to follow what is happening in the world and what is going to be then the best just like result, or who is going to be the winner. Is it just like traveling and meeting people, maybe traveling with care, traveling and taking care of your carbon footprint and thinking how and when and for how long to travel? Or this is just the kind of a statement from the big companies that it's better just to keep employees at home and do everything over internet. And at the same time, also to say that we are very much like environmental friendly.
Thank you, Merike. And as a panelist as well, I would like to share my opinion. What I noticed this summer, beginning of the summer, and the whole summer, all the charter flights were full. People want to travel a lot, and they will travel. And when I'm talking to the big global companies in Lithuania, and the managers, what do they face? That people, yes, they would like to have the flexible schedule to work sometimes from home, sometimes from the office. But they are eager to go to the meetings because we cannot achieve the same results with the virtual meetings, what we can achieve together sitting in the office or sitting with a glass of wine or the cup of coffee. That's obvious. And people really would love to travel, and that's the beauty of the life. That's what I think. But definitely, to have the beautiful travel, we need experienced employees. And what would you say, colleagues, about the saving jobs in travel? What would be your recommendations to our governments? And to Vincas as well, as he asked for some advices, what is needed. Please share with me as well. How to save the jobs, what would be the best support or help to our industry? Or maybe it's not important in your market, maybe you have enough employees. Ēriks?
Is it? Oh, Ēriks, please.
Oh, Ērik, you started already. Okay,
Go
Ērik.
ahead.
As a European organization, we don't have a direct link with employees. I mean, you are at national level very much connected with the concern of the companies. What we have understood very well is that we lost our members, and the companies lost a lot of skilled workers. Because they wanted, and I think Merike and Ēriks will explain that better than me, they wanted to get a pay, a salary, a wage, and certainty. So we need to look at that. We need to offer a feeling to employees that the governments are behind the companies in the right way. Don't say that you have to pay ad libitum an industry, because an industry making no business after 5 years, it's not an industry existing. But there is, as Žydrė says, there is a demand for traveling, obviously. And we need to help overcoming the companies to overcome this difficult period where we need to come back to the office and to start working. So having all the costs and having no revenue. So we need, from my side, I would say, first thing first, help companies to get temporary support scheme in order to overcome the low season, which is the winter season in many countries. So I'm not talking for the Baltic, but for many other European countries. But certainly Merike and Ēriks will have more to say on that matter.
Thank you, Ēriks. Ēriks?
Yes, thank you. I actually see this question very much in continuation what Merike was mentioning before about what we have learned. And one thing that we have learned is that having crisis in industry as this one also requires a different approach on regulating or even re-establishing the labor market in tourism and hospitality industries. I don't think that this is the case when with simple training programs it will work. We need to recreate the business of labor market that is dedicated to the tourism industry and takes this as an opportunity to speak about those issues that we have in the next decades. We have European Green Deal as an issue. We have changing travel patterns and behavior. We are seeing new business forms and business models. And I would love to see governments looking on some of those programs that have been used before in different circumstances, how we integrate some social groups into the labor market. And we have to look now on tourism industry as one of the areas where we have to integrate people. But this is, of course, can be achieved before doing what Ēriks said before, that we have to create the confidence that travel business is here to stay, and that if I choose to be part of tourism family, that there is a backup that is keeping this business alive for next couple of years, or at least putting it on the path of further development. So this is like the two-step things, but most importantly, with a different vision on how we do it.
Thank you, Ēriks. Merike?
Thank you. I just also want to maybe emphasize that first of all, people are our most expensive asset. So we just can't, with a light heart, to let them go. But we were in the situation that we had to cut the jobs, we had to cut the positions. I personally can say that in Estonia, for example, there were tens and tens of people who didn't go to look for a new job or for better salary. They just wanted to work. This was their problem. They didn't want to sit at home with a half contract, but they wanted to have a full contract, and they worked in two separate places. So one was a travel agency and the other one was, for example, health board. A very popular place, and the pharmaceutical companies as well in Estonia, very popular, where the travel agents went just to work as a second job. And this shows also that, first of all, when we are talking about the Baltic countries, we are all 30 years old, let's say so. And all our employees, our travel business is also, so to say, 30 years old. We started to study travel business back in 1990. We went to the different schools in Stockholm, in Helsinki, and because I think that no of our countries had the specific travel school or travel training possibilities. So we did it all outside. And this is good to know that most of these people who started 30 years ago are still in travel business. and their knowledge, skills, experience is just priceless. So it is really very important just to keep them when it is possible. And today we are in the situation where the business is growing, not a lot, but still it's growing, and we don't have enough people with experience. We have just to hire new people and to train them. But to be a good travel agent, for example, in an IATA agency, it takes you 3 to 4 years to be a real professional. So it is something that we have just to understand, and it is why I'm said I started with that people are our most expensive assets. Yeah, this is my understanding of the employees.
Thank you. As well, we have the question from the audience, or raise hands. Please, Udrus.
Yes, it's very nice to hear about that it's very important to save staff. And we have very interesting experience that really, yes, all companies have problems with the staffs, and we have to hear the same problems with the staff in Lithuania. We have the same problems in Germany. No staff, no support or recovering staff. But we must speak not only about staff, but we must speak about support for travel agencies, tour operators, and so like that. About 70% of travel business in Lithuania create small and medium business. But the problem is that Lithuanian government decided to support only big travel companies like Novaturas, like hotel tour operators, and was no support of small travel business like tour operators, like travel agencies, like guides. They don't get any special support. We can speak about, for example, Novaturas. Novaturas get about 90 million support of government. Travel agencies get support 0. So it's very, very complicated now situation for travel agencies to keep staff. And I don't know what will be happening in the winter time, because we have, I think, a lot of bankrupts. But Lithuanian government, yes, we have some information from government, we have some messages from government. They said, yes, we sacrificed tourism business to the health, public health, but yes, we know that you will be bankrupt. So this is all what they speak about support for small business. So for us, yes, we want to keep the staff. We want to work with this new staff, because staff is very, very expensive to learn. For example, my experience showed that staff takes to learn about 2 months, 2 years, not half years, not something like that, but 2 years. But stage is very simple. No support for small business and no support for medium business. All support going to the big company. So we'll see what is happening for future, but we need really questions, really support, and we need to know how will be support small business in different countries. It is very, very important. So because we know from colleagues from Germany that, for example, my company like me, which registered in Lithuania, in Germany get about 1 million support. So question is, why is supporting this difference in the different countries so different? And I don't know. So this is a story what I want to tell.
Thank you, Udrus. I understand your question was to the minister, but if you don't mind, the panelists as well would like to share their opinion as well. Yes, Merike, I saw your hand. Thank you, Udrus.
Thank you very much. It's a serious question, and definitely all countries, at least in the European Union, most of the countries have a separate or different system of how to support their companies or the sector in general. In Estonia, we have got some support just from the different authorities, and at the moment there is nothing happening in a kind of waiting support. But we have some possibilities just to how to say, train the people. For example, we have the mentoring service for business models, just support at the moment possible to apply for, which means that you still have some new business models or service designs possible to just develop yourself and also get some support for that. And also there is a support for product development in the business, in the tourism sector. So these are the so-called supports for which are at the moment actual, and they are just like for the companies. But when we are talking about the people, then these supports were already at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. The main issue was that travel agents or travel sector was not even travel sector, but tourism sector was not very happy how the whole procedure happened. It took too much time, and it was quite confusing. The whole information from the government side was quite confusing. This was not this didn't make the companies happy, but at least all the companies have got something. It is not like all the small companies with one employee or so on. They had to apply for the support, and it definitely depended on what were the terms and conditions for this support. So this is true that you must be supported by the government or by the municipality or whatever just institution.
Thank you, Merike. And as well, I would like to say from the Lithuanian side, all the companies who paid taxes in 2019, they were eligible for the support. Definitely smaller companies got smaller amounts. Bigger companies who paid more taxes, they got bigger amount. But same as in Estonia, the biggest companies, they didn't get enough what they paid because there was the limit. I mean, the ceiling, what can be paid to the company as a support. Thank you. Ēriks, would you be
thank you. Actually, reflecting on what Udrius mentioned before about the small businesses, once we think about this employability of future staff or providing services, we have to look broader on a horizon. One thing is what happens in travel offices and travel agencies and operators. But what we already start to feel and what gives and will give a lot of pain is that we have lost these micro ecosystem elements. Tourist guides, bus drivers, service workers in hospitality, in hotels, in restaurants, people who create this added value to the tourism business. And often they are the ones who really also here in Latvia were excluded from support mechanisms because of different criteria. And if we look on the next steps, what we can do and how probably we as an industry can perform better is simply to try to look on in a more inclusive way so that we cover wider range of services, because those are the services finally we, especially incoming, will be dependent on. We will not be able to grow our competitiveness without having the product, and we will not have sufficient product if people who provide these micro elements will not be in the system. I will not reflect on support mechanisms we have had. It has been a mess we have been through here at the association with criteria and evaluation, and I would love to have some good examples, but I'm more looking now on what we can do next and how we can get through this winter and get this tourism system back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ēriks. Ērik, would you like to emphasize as well?
Yes, it's a key question, and in the chat room, Udrius raised a question about the different schemes. Well, we have reported, and I was checking during the discussion this morning, we have the 36-page document within our organization, covering all what has been done at national level. And it's very different from a country to another, from a fixed amount per employee or a maximum amount per companies to a percentage per turnover, either dedicated for the tourism sector or for all sort of small and medium-sized companies. It's really depending on the country to another. National, regional, I mean, it's very difficult to explain. But if you turn to the National Association, companies are able to get this feedback. And I know that all the national associations fought like hell on this. And we have to say that from the 27 European member states, we have a reporting about 24 national schemes, either specific to the industry or globally. So you have on each country, you have had a support for the industry. Could be better, of course, but what is important to say is that if you work together, government and association, then you make the best use of the money because you target the money where it's needed. And we don't want, I mean, it's the feeling we have had. We don't want a check just for the whole business. We want to survive. We want to overcome this crisis and to be able to make business again. That's the idea behind this financial scheme. And the EU has been setting up a specific temporary framework, which has to be extended, that we are fighting to get this extension in order to be able to allow a further support to companies to overcome this winter season, which will be challenging again. I know that Mr. Jurgutis will speak after me, but I know you have the feeling that we always come to you say, this is a difficult moment, but this is true. It's really it's like a slalom in ski. It's like each challenge after another, and it's very, very difficult to have a long-term perspective there.
Thank you, Ēriks. And Mr. Vincas?
Okay, so I believe that it's one of the most difficult topics in most of the countries. And of course, many of countries, they are looking for the right answers. And of course, the situation is also very different. Also speaking not about the different schemes, but also in general about the share in GDP of tourism sector and et cetera, and many things, and different structure of businesses in different countries. So that's why sometimes all those schemes are different. Our vision was to link the support the subsidies with the taxes paid before, and this was not only for tourism sectors but also for other sectors which were shut down or nearly shut down because of the COVID. So that was critical. Also, we had limitation for bigger companies for the subsidies. We had like a floor for smaller companies. No one paid like 100 or 200 euro subsidies, but was minimum 500 or 1,000 in some schemes, and like similar. So this was the way we chose. It can be criticized. That's okay. We are always in that situation where we negotiate with Minister of Finance or National Bank for those schemes, and then take all those not fulfilled expectations from the business. But that's normal. That's in politics a normal situation, and we are not angry of it. That's the normal thing. And for the bigger companies, we also had and also still have loan or guarantee schemes for the loans. And sometimes then subsidies and loans or guarantees for the loans, they are three different things, types of support. When we are mixed in one place, it sometimes might look tricky, and we should be aware of it. But if and I will ask my team also to look for it for proactively. But if colleagues, especially from Estonia and Latvia, could share after this meeting some points whether you still have something right now, and what do you have something right now, not about what was done during the lockdowns, but for this period. So this would be something we could take in mind and maybe use it, maybe not use it, but at least to be as much informed as we can do, and take this very seriously. So that would be a question both for my team to ask it proactively, but also for you, if you could share, that would be a big help. So thank you.
Thank you, Vincas. And I got two questions. Thank you, Vincas. And I got two questions to the audience. And the first one actually is a little bit tricky. Harmonized regional COVID regulations. How governments can work together to have the Baltic region, again, one bubble with one single traveler, questionnaire or card, and same rules. What needs to be done? Vincas, I expect as well from you insights, because you are talking to our government as well, you know. You are our government, but the colleagues from the Estonia, Latvia, and Brussels, please, as well.
Maybe I can start, Žydrė?
Yes, sure you can.
Yeah, actually, as this winter, spring was very difficult in that case, and it's now also the situation difficult in that case, that in general, this is maybe because of those Delta, and we were cautious about Gamma coming from Southern America, and etc. The problem is that situation is very different in different countries, and no one can explain why. For example, let's look to the Poland, which has a relatively low vaccination level, and this summer and autumn is pretty good for them. Only now the numbers are increasing, but increasing very slowly, and no masks are introduced, and etc. And I am so happy for Poland and hope that we're gonna stay the same, but no one knows. So this is like a saying sorry part, why this coordination is on such a low level. But while listening to all of you speaking, I heard it and take it very seriously, that we should find a way for the bigger coordination, and we should have it, and we will talk also with our foreign minister. We should have some kind of ongoing working group to do it like every week, just to not to change regulation, but to keep everyone in touch and to know about each other and about the plans. Also, the other thing that is important, and maybe it's a good time to mention, is that as many of you spoke about the region as a tourism product itself, selling Lithuania or Estonia to people from further destinations is not so easy as to sell the whole region. And sometimes with our marketing for international marketing for our target countries, we do have some marketing products that we are speaking, not we Lithuanians, we are speaking not about only Lithuania, but about all the three Baltic countries, as we understand that this is the only way how we can attract people to come here. If we're gonna spend 3 days here, 2 days or 3 days in Latvia, and the same in Estonia. So this is also the thing that could be done in a higher level and coordinated level. And I think this is one of the options of those sometimes combined marketing can appear. And this is the thing that is not done yet. So I think that we as Lithuanians, maybe we could offer it to Latvia and Estonia, and at least have talks with your agencies. Maybe we should do this. So this is one of the ideas that we're gonna do it. We already had these talks internally, so it will be a push to start it quicker.
Thank you, Vincas. My colleagues, would you like to emphasize as well? Ēriks?
I would love to invite everyone in Lithuanian government or Estonian government to help the Latvian government to admit the fact that tourism has been, is, and will be an important sector in the economy of each of these countries, to recognize the existence of tourism and the fact that tourism industry is still alive, even it has been written off every month or sometimes even every week on political announcements, and admit the fact that after doing at least something for 18 or 19 months now, not to help to get to the end would be foolish, and it would be a waste of resources. The governments need to realize that this is the common problem of the industry and the government and the politics to get to the end by, first of all, recognizing the fact that tourism still is present here. This is my wish and expectation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ērik.
Yes, Žydrė, and let me intervene here in two aspects, as a non-Baltic person first, and then as a European association. As a non-Baltic person, I would say, of course, you can say that tourism is important or is less important than Italy in North Baltic countries. I'm not a tourist expert as a background. I have done work in many sectors. So my question would be, if I'm a businessman, if I'm a government, okay, tourism was not that important, or we couldn't do it. What can we do to improve that? Why would the Baltic countries not think about the idea of maybe there's something to do there because we could do better? So I'm a little bit surprised that we don't want to focus on industry because it's not the most important industry so far. But come on, tourism has to be developed in all destinations. So that would be something I would definitely work on as a government. Second, I think Mr. Jurgutis raised a very good point, and I think I already talked about that. But even our American colleagues informed us that one of the biggest deterrents for travelers today is that they don't have any visibility on what will be the legislation in the future. I don't know if I can travel, leisure travel. I don't know if I can come back home and having no quarantine if I'm traveling to X or Z legislation. So it's not that we say you shouldn't change legislation. It's just make the feeling that this is coordinated and worked well with the stakeholders. And that needs to be prepared and not to be changed overnight. And finally, I very much invite the governments to work together or alone, but to market their countries. Because if you want to be an inbound market, if you want to have more tourists, then you need to sell it. You can sell it in Europe directly because Europe is let's say, an internal market. But if you want to sell it abroad where the money is, then you need to work with the travel agent and tour operators of these countries. And we are in touch with our colleagues from the US, for instance, or from Canada. So Žydrė, Merike, Ēriks can help their own governments to get the links and work together with those travel agent and tour operators abroad that would allow informing and selling those destinations for the future. So happy to work together with the government and support you colleagues in these efforts to restart tourism. But definitely, I don't see why tourism is not important in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia for the government. It's the beautiful destination. Been there, can confirm.
Thank you, Ēriks. That's happened 2 years ago. You know, you've been in Biršnos and Vilnius. Merike.
Difficult. Yes, really difficult. We have just during my 30+ years in travel industry, I should say that we have talked about the same issue, why the three countries are not working together a lot of times. And then I can also say that the three associations are working very well together. So why not to have it on the country level? What I have to say about Estonia, that as I mentioned before, we don't have actually just like a support system waiting at the moment, but our Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information Technology is talking to travel people every second week. Well, of course, we have the Teams talk. It's not like face-to-face. And during the last talk, he asked all of us who were around this virtual table to send our ideas, what we would like to get, what kind of support we are dreaming of. And then maybe he's going to take it on the table and just talk with us about it, because the travel industry people can now very freely talk to the minister and send our own wishes. Are they going to be true? We don't know, but at least we have the door open at the moment.
Thank you, Merike. And as our session is coming to the end, I would like to raise one more idea. We have been dreaming about having working group together, destination promotion agencies like Keliauk Lietuvoje and associations together. I would say that would be the right point to have the working group to promote the Baltics, to decide what is needed. And the second thing, and I think it's time to get back by Baltics back to our countries. We used to have a very beautiful event, and that was one of the best events in our countries. I think that's an invitation. Let's have Best by Baltics back. Let's have a working group where the destination marketing agencies and associations work together to create sustainable advertising and to get back the tourists to our countries. Thank you to all the participants and the panelists. It was a fascinating discussion. The ideas for the actions to implement in the future. Hope to see you soon and have a cup of coffee. Meanwhile, stay positive with negative COVID test results. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to the Ministry of Economy and Innovation, and thanks to Lydia, who actually was responsible for this event. I'm only the moderator, and thanks to ECTAA, to ALTA, and to ETFL. Thank you, and best regards to everyone in your teams.